I'm your host, Swarnan Bhartia, and welcome to here for Let's Talk. Appsmith is a startup that enables backend engineers to build internal web apps quickly with a low code approach. The company recently launched a new feature to create CRUD applications in minutes. To learn more about this new feature and more importantly about the company itself, today we have with us Arpit Mohan, co founder and CTO of Appsmith. Arpit, it's great to have you on the show.
Uh, Hi, Swapnil. Fantastic to be here. Thank you for having us.
Let's start with the story of AppSmith because you're also co-founders. Tell me what problem you saw in the space that you co-founded the company.
Okay, so a little bit of background. So me and Abhishek, we've done multiple startups over the last 10 years. So Appsmith is actually our third venture. And our previous venture, we were doing a mobile game. It was a quiz show that we were doing on mobile. And coincidentally, we ended up going viral. So we had 1 million downloads on the Play Store within a span of 3 months. We had 120,000 users playing our game at any point of time during the day. And all of this was being managed by 4 engineers. That was our team back then. And just keeping the lights on was so hard because the product is scaling so rapidly. And on top of that, we also had to then start building admin panels and dashboards for our support engineers, for our production engineers, etc. And that's where the idea sort of formulated very strongly. And through a lot of these startups, we've also had to build a lot of internal tools, a lot of internal dashboards. But when we were doing our previous mobile game, that's when it really hit home that, hey, it's 2018. Every company requires a customer support dashboard. Every company requires a growth management system, an HR system, etc., etc. Why is it that it is so hard to build a custom tool that is serving your own process flows? Why is it so hard? That's why we ended up shutting down that game, and we decided to focus on Appsmith full time. And we said, let's make the building of internal tools a lot simpler.
Can you tell me exactly how AppSmith works? Because from what I do understand, you do make it easy for developers to write applications, but let's just get to some specific, let's get into the weeds, how it works.
So Appsmith helps, like you said, developers build, CRUD apps and dashboards really, really quickly. The reason that we kind of started out with it was because so personally, I'm a backend developer. I've coded on the servers and managed databases all my life. And centering something vertically and horizontally on a screen is beyond my pay grade. I do not enjoy it. I do not enjoy mucking around with HTML, with CSS. It's just not my cup of tea. And that's where the idea of Appsmith sort of came up, is that why can't we allow all developers, backend and front end, to be able to build dashboards by literally spinning up one Docker instance, just install Appsmith via a Docker container, have it up and running, and then you can just drag and drop UI elements onto a screen, connect them to any database, any API, multiple databases as well in the same app, and just display your and create an operational dashboard out of it. So just being able to do that, a flexible UI builder along with the ability to join data from multiple data sources. That is actually one of the reasons why we started building Appsmith, and that's why I'm super excited about this product.
But if you do look at back office operations, there are already a lot of apps. There are companies who offer the whole suite. So what is the new that you are bringing to the table?
There's actually a couple of things. The first is if you look at any SaaS product, you have Zendesk for support ticket management. You have Google, which provides an entire suite of products. Zoho does the same, and they're fantastic tools. They're fantastic pieces of software, and you should use them if that's what. But as a company starts to grow, once you go out of the startup zone and you start scaling, what you really want is you want the software and the tools to bend towards your processes. You want your software and your tools to work as your processes would, instead of changing your processes in order to suit a tool. So that is why if you look at a lot of large companies, they all they don't rely on just on pure SaaS products. They have a lot of custom software that they build internally, because they have a lot of custom processes that they want to follow. Like every company has the option of applying for leaves, but in every company that process is just a little bit different, and because it just works for them. And so with Appsmith, one is that is why we are open source, is because we want companies to be able to, developers and engineers to be able to build software as per their own workflows and as per their processes. And secondly, a lot of these other SaaS tools, they're sort of built in silos. So there is no collaboration when the tool is actually being built. So for example, again, let's say you're building a support, ticket management system for your support folks. Now, while the engineer is actually building the tool, or we are evaluating Zendesk, it's the support engineers and the support staff who actually end up using the software. Now, so getting this feedback and building something collaboratively is where the power is. That is why collaborative tools like Slack, like Figma, they are the ones that are actually helping companies and teams move faster, while anything that is being built in a silo will always be built a little slower.
If I ask, you as you gave example that there are some companies that can also offer your services, who are your typical clients?
So we have a lot of clients such as Swiggy in India, which is a unicorn food delivery giant in India. We have teams inside IBM, inside Adobe using us as well. We have PharmEasy, which is an online a drug delivery company, and Dunzo, which does point-to-point pick up and drop off of items. So we have a lot of these large unicorns in India and as well as in the US using us. The most common use cases that people end up using Appsmith for is for building wherever there are operational dashboards that need to be built. Any operational heavy company, for example, will invariably have a lot of internal applications. So a lot of KYC management, know your customer, or user management systems get built on us. Customer support dashboards get built on us. Account reconciliation systems have been built. In fact, a team inside IBM has been using us to manage their entire test suite for all their products. So, which platforms it's running, what are regression results, etc., etc. So the use cases are very, very varied, and it all originates from the need that, if only I had an admin panel to manage this one thing. And so that's why we cover a very wide gamut from small startups to large unicorns.
When you do build custom tools, you also inherit or create a lot of technical debt because you have built things internally. Second problem is tribal knowledge. The team or the guy, as you said, in your case, there are 4 folks, and sometimes people move on, they burn out. So what happened? That knowledge move away with them. But when you use a standard SaaS kind of approach, then it doesn't matter which teams comes and take over. These are standards. So how do you ensure to overcome these 2 challenges as well?
That's actually a very that's a great question. It's very pertinent, and that is something that all engineers sort of struggle with. So when we talk about technical debt, so with Appsmith, because there are some very predefined, every software is built on the same set of fundamental blocks. You have the same drop down, an input box, a button, an API call. The fundamentals of any app, however complicated it might be, the fundamentals are the same. So what Appsmith does is it does a lot of the heavy lifting for the developer. So the amount of technical debt that is being generated on behalf of the team or the user or the developer is actually very, very, very little. All that they are doing is they're writing literally 5 lines or 10 lines of JavaScript to customize a little bit of their workflow, and able to move forward, because a large chunk of 90% of the heavy lifting is actually done by Appsmith, because we give pre-built UI components. So you can drag and drop any UI widget anywhere you want on the screen. We have connectors to REST APIs, databases like Postgres, MySQL, etc., native integrations to Zendesk, to other SaaS products as well. So you can, pull in data from a Zendesk, you can pull in ticket information, pull in your order information from, say, Salesforce, combine them into, so the pulling of data, all that is done by Appsmith. And all that the developer is doing is, oh, I have this order information, I have this ticket information. How do I just merge it together to show it onto the UI? So the amount of technical debt that is being generated is actually very, very little. So it ensures longevity of the product, of the tool itself. The second bit that you talked about, tribal knowledge, and this tends to happen. So Appsmith also allows developers to export their applications and store them in Git. So you can version control your apps, add README file, add documentation as you would with code, so that the longevity, the tool surpasses the individual. Because a very core philosophy that we've had from the beginning is software is built by teams. The history of software is the history of teams. So it is imperative for every software tool and every engineer to build tools that outlast them in the company. And we've done everything around Appsmith. Everything in Appsmith is around this philosophy.
When we do look at a lot of startups, of course, there are tech startups like yourself, but then there are a lot of companies who have nothing to do with technology. But in today's world, you will not survive as a company if you don't have a digital or cloud strategy in place, which also means they do not have all the technical know-how. That's why low code and no code is kind of becoming more popular. So how does Appsmith also enable these kind of teams or these companies? So first of all, they lower their overhead cost of and then also sometimes finding developers who know all these latest technology is also hard. So there are so many barriers that they have to overcome. So how do you help them to not only being able to at least develop that application, maintain it? Developing an application is the easiest part, right? Maintaining it, updating it, keep it running is the challenging part. But also move faster so they don't have to spend 1 year or 2 years to build the whole thing. So talk about that aspect also.
So the whole low code, so Appsmith is a low code tool. And as you said, it lowers the barrier to entry in building any app or any internal tool. For a lot of non-tech clients, like if you were a pure MBA grad who's just come out from Harvard and you have this great business idea and you just want to do it, in that case, Appsmith requires a very basic knowledge of JavaScript and SQL. So if you know a very little bit of SQL or JavaScript, you should be good to go with an Appsmith. Apart from that, we also have a lot of consulting companies, a lot of service companies who actually build on top of Appsmith on behalf of their non-tech clients. So for the non-tech, for the business user or the business client, a project that would have taken maybe 6 months now gets over in like a week. So it's a win-win for everybody involved. The consulting company, they are able to kind of provide value to their customers or to their clients really quickly. They can charge a higher hourly rate because of this. So it kind of creates an entire win-win in the ecosystem. But with respect to Appsmith, I would say that we require a little bit of JavaScript and a little bit of SQL knowledge. Without that, it will get a little hard.
If I'm not wrong, you folks are also announcing or launching a new feature which kind of helps create CRUB apps very quickly. So talk a bit about that feature, and also if you can also give kind of a comparison that how long it takes to build the same app traditionally versus now, that would be great as well.
One of the biggest problems when when engineers start building an app is doing all the dog work of figuring out where should my table go, where should I show my data, where should I include a form, where should my button go, so on and so forth. So what we've done is we've automated this entire flow out, and if a developer or a user connects Appsmith to their Postgres or database or Google Sheets or Firestore, any data store that they are connecting to, Appsmith automatically generates an entire CRUD dashboard, an entire CRUD app automatically out of the box, which will have a page where you can view your data. It'll come with forms that will allow you to create, like insert data or update data that lies inside your data store. If we kind of look at traditional apps, like how this was done, traditionally, if I was using, React.js or Vue.js or some framework like that, a dashboard like this would probably take anywhere between like 2 to 3 weeks. And all of this now has been automated and compressed down to literally 3 clicks, which takes about 30 seconds of decision making. Uh, so it accelerates the first thing that a user sees and experiences uh, by like miles. So for a developer, they can get up and running with Appsmith really quickly. They are able to then take this template and then just modify little details here and there. So the modification becomes a lot faster, a lot easier because we've already taken them 90% of the way.
Arpit, thank you so much for taking time out today and talk about not only the company AppSmith, but also the problem, the challenge that you are solving for both large and enterprises and startups. So thanks for sharing your story, and I would love to have you folks back on the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Swapnil. It was an absolute pleasure.